What's going on, everybody? This is Chris Amaya. I'm your host. We have Bryan Boatman, Mr. 400,000 here. First year, right? What did you end up finishing last year?
It was like 400,500. Right on the...
Oh, wow. So like right on the cusp, man.
Barely made it.
Dang. And that was your first year selling life insurance, right?
It was first year.
Dang. Dude, so you're barely... And I guess, like, what's the significance of 400,000? Obviously, like, people hear that that's a lot of money, but I guess what does that mean in the life insurance world?
Just the Hall of Fame. You know, Easton Patton is my upline, and he always told me, like, to be well respected in life insurance, you have to hit Hall of Fame. If you don't hit Hall of Fame, then, I mean, it's just especially at FFL, the Hall of Fame is just when you hit that, it's just a big achievement because not very many people do. So, and you know, of course, when I started this year, my first month I did 6,000 my first month.
Yeah.
So Easton was always like, you're going to hit Hall of Fame. And I was like, there's no shot. March, April, May, June, July, August, even to September, I'm not hitting Hall of Fame. It's not happening.
Well, dude, I remember like right when I came on board too, like, I mean, I started, I think it was like June, and that's right when, I mean, you were starting, I mean, you were selling what, like 30,000 at that point sometimes here and there?
Yeah, it was like 30, 40 on average.
Okay, like so 30, 40. I guess kind of what was the switch? I mean, obviously, dude, from selling, you know, your first 6 months, like, you know, 6,000, then selling, you know, 35, 40,000. I mean, that's a huge switch. I mean, end up hitting the 400,000? That's pretty wild.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I got my conviction went up in the business. Because anything you sell, you have to have a lot of conviction with what you sell. And I feel like as I was in the business and I started getting more conviction with people I was helping out, you know, I've had death claims. I've had people claim for living benefits. Yeah. And I feel like that's when it actually that's when it's real. Yeah. Because right now, especially when you first start, you just sell. Right. And you don't really know what you're even selling at. Really, I mean, you're selling life insurance, right? But it's like intangible. Right. And then when you get a call that someone has, you know, he's got colon cancer and he has a $65,000 surgery and his insurance only covers $45,000, but he can claim up to $100,000. Now it's real. Yeah, you're like, so holy shit. I was just talking to Greg like 4 months ago. I remember the conversation. The call was recorded. Like, oh yeah, super cool. So I love it. I think like being able to actually make a difference in people's lives like that is pretty cool. Yeah. Hell yeah.
All right, what's going on, everybody? We're back. Sorry, we had to turn off a little machine, a little heater in the background. It is freezing here in Colorado. So anyways, but yeah, so obviously life insurance, like it ends up being like real, especially like when you get death claims. I'm still yet to have a death claim. I know when that day comes, I'm gonna be like, holy smokes. Like, I mean, obviously it's pretty sweet that, I mean, you're helping that family that's in need and it's like, it's real, right?
For sure.
So how many have you had?
I've had two. So I had the one death claim that was, he just passed away. He was like 72. Okay. Day one coverage, so I paid out. And then the second guy, he bought a policy for me in April, and then he bought a policy for me in December. And then just recently, he called me saying he got diagnosed with colon cancer, and he only wants to pull from one of the policies. Wow. So he's only going to take enough from the one and then keep the other one and just leave it. Because technically he could just pull from both and take, 200-something thousand, but he just wants 100,000. So pretty cool. And I'm praying that the insurance company is going to pay him out. In insurance, the only reason they wouldn't is if he lied. And he said he swears on his life, like there's no history of cancer at all in his family. So I think everything's going to go smoothly. And so I'm excited for him.
Okay. And I guess for those people that don't know how life insurance works, basically, if you lie on an application, that's like a huge no-no to the insurance companies, because obviously then if they get approved because of something they left off on the application, the insurance companies have the right to deny that. So make sure, if you're applying for life insurance, definitely tell the truth and obviously tell your agent the truth. That way you can actually get help when you need it. So real quick, man, obviously want to go back just in your background, because obviously like you're having a good amount of success, selling, 400,000 first year. That's no easy feat. What did you do prior to this?
I was doing door-to-door sales for solar sales.
Okay.
So I did that for a couple of years, and it's a great business. You can make a lot of money. I just was in the cycle of making a lot of money one month, getting comfortable, spending my money, and then starting over. And it's been like a cycle in my life, because with solar door-to-door, you have seasons. So during the winter season, we still knock, but just not as hard. Right. So that's why when I got into this business, it's like, we can do this. We can work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's no off time. So I've really enjoyed that, being able to be in a business where I can, work every single day no matter what. It's snowing right now, and if I'd bet there's maybe 1% of solar guys in Colorado that are actually on the doors right now at 10 degrees. So, but we can be here selling. So that's kind of the big thing for me that got me interested in life insurance, so that I can work like constantly.
Yeah, you're not limited by anything, right? You're limited by how many dials you're willing to do, how much leads you're willing to buy, how many leads and presentations you're willing to do, right?
And how much hell you're willing to go through, right? Because it's not easy. Like,
no,
that's
definitely
the thing.
not.
Because I mean, this was a really hard year. Like, I wanted to quit multiple times. But that's where culture comes in. Like being with Jesse. Jesse went through hell, probably worse than I did. I'm sure I can't even imagine what Ty's have been through. You know, like we've all been through it. Like even Easton,
definitely
horrible hell. And look at him now. So I just am, and what I'm doing with my business now, I'm taking bigger risks. I'm trying to do things that a little bit out of the box. That's very risky, and I'm putting myself, through it again. And but with the intent of big returns in the future. So, but yeah, it's exciting because you can invest as much as you want into the business, and then whatever you're willing to go through is what you're going to get out on the other side. So
high risk, high reward, right?
Yeah. But I mean, you can stay comfortable too. Like if you want to just sell 30 grand a year or a month, and then just do that every month and just pay your bills and just, live a good life, you can do that. But I mean, my goal is I want to like do, this year, one of the months this year, I want to do 100,000 personal on my own pen, which is going to be, my biggest month is 60. So it's going to be hard, but
it's going to be sick.
But it's going to happen. I mean, I'm going to put enough money in to spend. But the thing is not only my biggest problem with this business right now is the persistency, right? So yeah, I want to do 100,000, but I'm also trying to figure out how to get the highest persistency possible.
Right. And real quick, just so that way people know that are maybe like pretty green to life insurance, persistency, what does that mean? What does it mean, persistency?
So like if I help you with the policy and I get paid, let's say I get paid $1,000 up front. Well, if you miss your first payment or you miss your second payment, whatever I was paid is returned. So you want to make sure your persistency, you want to make sure at least 90% of the people you help out stick on the books for the full year.
Right.
After the first year goes by, then you're good to go. You're safe. But if they cancel within that first year, then you have to pay back what you were paid, which is 75% up front. So, but yeah, I mean, I had a really good persistency. I was at like 92%, and then it was dropped below 90% because I went on some different lead source, different lead type, which was really good. I sold a lot, but it's just, and I feel like I do everything I can to let these people know that this is something that you have to pay, make sure it's affordable. I feel like I do everything, and it's just, so that's why I'm trying to figure out how can I get the highest persistency, because there's a lot of times I'm not impressed with people that sell a lot, because I'm just like, okay, you sold, 90 grand, but how much is sticking?
Right. Because that's the business that matters, is the business that stays on the books, right?
All that matters. Like, because the person that sells 30 that has 98% stick is better off than people that are selling way more.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm trying to figure out how to make it stick to I want 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, everybody would love that, dude. That'd be sweet.
But for me, I take it probably the most serious out of anybody. I really do. Because that's all I really care. I've been saying it probably when you first day.
No, dude, I remember literally, so my first day, I shadow you, right? And I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, you're kind of like talking me out of it, which I love too. And that made me obviously like want to, even sell at a higher level and like be more involved. But you're like, dude, it's really tough. And then I remember you showed me like your client list, right? That had all of your clients, like if they drafted insufficient, like, okay, did they cancel, all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, I've seen that on your books. Cause I mean, obviously I think this is kind of obvious, but like if you make money, you want to make sure that money sticks and it's not going to charge back, right? Where the insurance companies like Aflac will be like, hey, Bryan, well, Johnny down the street, he actually canceled your policy because maybe you oversold him or you sold him something that was not right. Which obviously we have a lot of different systems in place here to keep our persistency high. But nationwide, I mean, there's a lot of bad business out there that's being sold, maybe like misrepresentative, to where, I mean, clients could easily cancel that. And now the agent is going to owe that company that money, right? So, dude, I definitely remember that in the beginning. You were like, dude, check out this. He's like, I remember you were like, all right, you created an email. Go ahead here. You shared that Google sheet with me as well. And I mean, dude, it's definitely a real thing.
For sure. And I feel like most people in this business are so unorganized. There's no like, there's probably guys at this office that have a pretty big book of business like that don't have anything tracked. And to me, it's really concerning because you want to know. Well, for me, I guess like Easton, I feel like I don't know if Easton tracks much, but he just wants to make as much money as possible. So sell, which is great. But for me, I want to be able to track my business. But something we also need to work on here, I feel like as an office, probably in the whole industry, is our biggest problem is like we're helping people and then we never talk to them again.
Right.
So my biggest thing right now that I want to focus on is referrals. I heard a video of Patrick Bet-David talk about referrals, and he's like, if you can't ask for a referral, you should not be in sales. And if we did a survey in our office, who's asked for a referral this week? Probably zero, honestly.
Right. There's a lot of people that don't.
I've asked for referrals to every client, but I'm not asking for it seriously. Like, get a pen and paper or send me a list of their numbers. Like, hey, I'm just like, hey, if this was a good experience, let your friends and family know. Like, no, it needs to be like, hey, I want 5 numbers right now, and like put me in a group chat. Like, so that's something I really want to work on. There's a lot of the thing about this business is it's very simple, but there's also so much to it. It's like overwhelming.
There's a lot of different ways, all right? I mean, what did they say? It's like you could skin a cat multiple ways. Very similar to here where it's like, I mean, okay, you could ask for a referral like, hey, Bryan, go ahead and just, if anyone looks for life insurance, go ahead and send them my card. You're probably not getting a referral. If you say, hey, Bryan, now if you had to think about it, who else has kind of been in a similar situation who would, wouldn't mind, looking for some protection for their wife? Well, and then you would say, oh, I don't know. Okay, well, if you had to think about it, who would that be? And you're going to put that person on the spot. And they're going to be like, well, I guess my friend Johnny. Okay, understood, Bryan. Now, go ahead and do this. Why don't you put me in a group text with him right now while we're on the phone, just that way I don't miss him. I mean, if he's a good friend of yours, I'm sure he's not going to be opposed to this. So whatever. And then, like, there's going to be a much different for getting a referral like that, which, funny enough, I used to do at Verizon quite a bit. I'm like, all right, like, hey, who else do you know is struggling at T-Mobile that we're going to switch over here to Verizon? I'm like, yeah, go ahead and put them in chat. So, and that's something that even I could do better. Oh yeah, of course.
And see,
I've
never seen it work like that. I've had referrals this year, but I sold like, I forget, like close to 300 family, like 300 people. Like I sold over 400, but like the amount of people was like 300. I've only had a few handful of referrals, and like that's the biggest problem because their business is costly already. So like we could, I honestly, if I went back to my book right now and just went straight for referrals, and I could probably have a massive profit month just off referrals. Sure. So it's made me sick just thinking back on it. So that's why it's a huge focus for me this year, and that's why I'm trying to get the system and processes in place because when we have the volume, we have people. It's sometimes hard to track everything. So if we have a good system and process with automations and get all that stuff like locked down. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to do.
That's sweet.
Like, I'm doing a lot in there, and it's like,
oh yeah, dude. I hear you. We have. So for everybody that doesn't know, me and Bryan, we share an office side by side. So we don't share an office, but he's my next door neighbor. So
yeah,
I hear this man. He's always making content, videos, a bunch of stuff. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I'm trying to just go out of the box. I mean, really, Eric Bosworth told us like social media is everything, right? Like, and so I'm kind of going the Eric Bosworth route, which is like, crazy because he's going to make like $10 million this year or something like $7 million.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild.
But don't get me wrong. I'm not going to be Eric Bosworth anytime soon. But if I never quit and I keep going on the path I'm going on, I mean, I will get there one day. Yeah. Maybe not as fast as him, like 2 years, but it takes me 15 years. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, dude.
As long as I make it, man. Like, that's all.
And we got to make it, bro. What have I fucking told you since the moment I started? I'm like, Bryan, we're gonna make millions, bro. I've been telling you. I've been saying day one. I'm like, oh shit, dude. Like once I realized like what this was, I'm like, holy smokes, it's much bigger than just a job. And like the cool thing, as you were alluding to earlier, you can make this what you want. If you want to make a part-time income, you could do that, make another $30,000, $50,000 a year. If you want to do something crazy, sell multiple 6 figures, like 400,000. I know, like for yourself, obviously, you're more business oriented to where you have a long-term vision, not necessarily like the short-term gratification thing of like, all right, I made all this money, I'm gonna just keep it all. And I'm gonna do the same thing next year. Like that's more of like a W-2 mindset, which is fine. You can do that. Now, for someone like yourself and myself who are like, all right, like we want to grow a business, we want to grow an agency. Like we understand, like, hey, so you make $400,000, we're probably going to invest 95% of that. You know what I mean?
I spent like 2 days ago, I spent like $13,000 on business growth, like development, like because I see the vision and I'm going to put the money there. Now, my biggest mistake sales this year, like my most profitable months, is spending too much money. So like it really makes me like, I'll like freaking cry about it because it makes me so sick how much money I could have right now. But I seem to always put myself in the same situation. I'll get like stack up a bunch of money and then I'll go make a big purchase. I'll go out 5 times a week. Right. I'll do this, I'll do that. And then all of a sudden I'm like, now I'm at this point, I'm like, wow, what an idiot. But like, but it's just, you live and you learn.
You live and you learn.
And but the thing is, I've made the same mistake too many times. So now I'm like, this year, I'm trying to really lock it down with all the money goes towards the business, barely survive, like with just get by, like with my personal expenses. Like I don't need to eat out like that. I don't need to do that kind of stuff. So like if I can lock that down, then this will be a really good year for me. And then, so. I
mean, especially if you think about it, if you're selling 500,000, I mean, because I imagine you're going to sell probably 500,000-600,000 this year. I know you want to elevate. So it's like, if you invested a majority of that money into your business versus, whatever else that you spend your money on, like, dude, it's going to grow.
Oh yeah.
Like, it has no choice but to grow. And like the thing too, it's like, I mean, the way I've always looked at like business, because even before this, I was always trying to build like a gym, Turo business, a bunch of other stuff, rental properties, you name it. But the way I always looked at it, it's like, okay, like if I'm investing money, I'm increasing my growth period where I'm gonna learn. So even if I fail, which I've absolutely failed, it's going to be a learning experience, right? So even if you're like, okay, you blow $30,000-$40,000, you got to look at that as like, okay, well, that's going to take me to where I am now. Maybe let's say that $13,000 investment goes bad.
Can't go bad. It's going to work.
Yeah, it's going to work. It's going to work. Obviously, we have that mentality, but I'm saying like if for some reason it didn't, it's like, okay, maybe that's not the right route. Now I need to look at XYZ route because I gain more knowledge from investing that $13,000, willing to put my credibility on the line, willing to put my money there. And I mean, dude, I love, like, you make such massive bets on yourself, dude. And I think it's so fucking cool because I think people, like, they just don't do that on average. I guess, like, what made you like so willing to risk?
I have no idea. I don't even know why my family's not in business really. No one. I don't know anyone in business. Everything that I know to this point has just been from like. Basically, I went to California and knocked on doors. I just during COVID, I like literally packed up my car and left because I saw like a little ad on this like thing, and I just did it. And I went and met this guy. His name is Alex Lee. So y'all should check him out on Instagram. His name's Alex Lee.
He's a big solar guy, I assume?
Oh my gosh. Well, he started his own solar company and like he's a freak. Like he's been through like serious hell and where he's at today. So after I saw his mindset and like where he's at today, I'm just like, because the thing is if I stuck alongside with him until now, good Lord. But the thing is like in California, that's not my home. I wasn't meant to be there, man. Like that's just not. I'm from Colorado. Like being out there it was great, but I was just so lonely and like had no family, friends. It was just really hard out there. But the mindset I learned from him was like bet on yourself. But besides like meeting him, I don't even know. Like there's no. I don't know why I'm so money hungry and want to be so successful. Like I have no idea. Like no one ever told me that. You want to be in business and sales. Like no one ever told me.
Right.
I had to like fail so many times to like get to the position I'm in with the mindset. And then now I'm just at a point where I've seen so many other people invest in themselves. And then everyone says it, right? Like the best investment's on yourself. So like I'm willing to go all in because I'm confident. I'm confident in myself. I'm confident that like I'll work and I'll make that like, I've made a lot of bad investments last year. Like I'll lose $8,000 like that.
What was your worst investment last year?
Just a lead source. Like not the one I did $60,000 on. I can't say that's a bad lead source because it helped me get a lot of money in the bank.
I got a lot of capital. Yeah, for sure. I remember you showing me. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, it's crazy.
Besides that, though, there was another investment I made. It was like $8,000 that I lost like pretty bad. And then I don't know. I don't know why I seem to make decisions really fast, which is a problem sometimes. Because sometimes it's a problem. I feel like you either procrastinate and don't you think about something in your head forever and don't make a decision.
That's what most people do.
And then right in the office right here next door to you, I see something and I just do it, and then now I'm like, oh my gosh, did I do too much? Am I psychotic? But then I'm sitting there thinking like, well, at least I'm in.
Yeah.
Because if not, a lot of people are like, dude, like you should probably wait to do something like that. It's like, yeah, you're right, but
also if you hit too,
or if I never do it, or if I just never do it though.
Right.
Yeah, so there's just like there's two sides of the coin. So it's I don't know. At least I'm in. I'm in.
Yeah, no, you're in deep, bro. So it's like you got to go. So I think that's like a big thing too. I think a lot of people miss is like if you make these massive bets on yourself, like for example, let's say you invest into a lead source, right? So for those of you who don't know, we're brokers. Basically, we pay for leads, and obviously it's our responsibility to follow up with those clients, help those clients get insurance. The insurance companies pay us. That's all. Now, if let's say you spend, I don't know, you invest $8,000 a month in leads, you're now forced to work, and obviously like you have a really good schedule, routine, all that stuff, but it's going to make you produce no matter what. So it's like I'd rather be in the game and like have some skin in the game to where no matter what I will work it. You know what I mean? So I think that's like a very similar like mindset that you've had, and like obviously then you go for it. Now, real quick, you mentioned that you don't really know like where that came from. I have a suspicion. I'm gonna just ask. So obviously your dad, right? He was MLB or the minors.
Yeah, he was in the minor league Astros.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I assume like growing up, like, I mean, that had to like play an impact on you, right? Like seeing like someone who's like a professional player. I mean, your father, I assume like you looked up to him, like you were probably like, holy shit, like
he's a beast. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy. Because like my dad's similar. I mean, he was like in the practice squad with the Broncos and all that stuff. To where I'm like, holy shit, like okay, like that's pretty cool. So like, I guess what key lessons maybe do you think any of that like translated to like where you're doing now? Because I mean, dude, that's like less than 1% of people will ever be in a professional sports league.
For sure. Well, my dad was like, so he wrote a letter to me, and on the letter he said, "There's two things you can control in life, and it's attitude and what was it? What's the other one on that letter? It's attitude and effort, right? So like that's really all I knew, like attitude and effort, because my dad was in car sales, ran car dealerships. One thing he always told me was never get into car sales. So never do it. So that's that's the only thing he ever told me, because I went to college to play baseball, and then when I went to college to play baseball, that's when he passed away in his car accident, which his life insurance policy saved our family. So like my story with life insurance makes it so like I feel like I can't fail. Like my family benefited so much from it. Like how could I fail?
Right.
I'm a huge testimony for life insurance. So that's why that's why I'm all in on myself in life insurance, is because I'm the only, 20-something-year-old that was a beneficiary of a massive policy, not for me and it's my mom's, but like that. But that money did put me to send me to college.
Right.
So all that, but yeah, I mean, my dad taught me like that was his only thing, is just work hard, attitude and effort. But that was it though. We never talked about sales. We never talked about any, because he was just like, be good at sports, be good, work hard, practice hard, and that's all I did. So I just practiced, and I just was living his dream. Yeah. But baseball wasn't my passion though. Yeah. I didn't love it, like I was really good at it. I'm really good at every sport, but I was just a waste of talent because I just never like loved it.
You never really cared enough to like put your effort there. And I think,
I don't know why.
Yeah. But I mean too, like, I think that translates a lot, because I mean, obviously it's like, okay, attitude and effort, right? Because at the end of the day, like when a new agent comes on, like that is the only thing they control. It's like, okay, like what's your attitude, and then your effort. How much are you working? How many dials are you at? Oh, you're at 150. Like you haven't even worked yet. It's just perspective, right? Somebody will do 1,000. They'll be like, man, they'll feel like they don't do enough. $150. Someone will be like, man, I worked so hard. No, you didn't.
Well, effort. So like that's the effort part, right? So like here's the difference: is if you make 1,000 calls with a shitty effort, with a shitty attitude, and I make 150 with a great attitude, I will beat your ass. And that's so true. That's a fact. So like you have to show up with the right attitude every single day, because the calls don't matter. Your attitude, because my biggest thing I've seen in this business when people come in, and I'm basically like, this is in solar sales too. It's just like, if you don't have a good attitude, just stay home. Don't even bother, because you're not going to sell anything. Yeah. You really can't. It makes it really hard.
It is. All right. I mean, if I called you and I'm like, hey, Bryan. Yeah, dude. Hey, yeah, I was just talking about the life insurance. Like, I don't know. They just sound like Eeyore, dude. Like, it's not going to be there if you're like when you're intro, you're like, hey, this is Bryan. Yeah, just getting back to you about the life insurance request that you sent in. Looks like here you put your beneficiary as Tiffany. Is that correct? Like, dude, there's much difference from that.
Well, I'm excited. Yeah. Yeah. I try to have a good attitude, and that's why I like to sell the IULs, because basically there's different products we can sell, like final expense, mortgage protection. You're like a big mortgage protection guy.
I'm a huge mortgage protection. Yeah, that's all I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I like IULs, but like with mortgage protection, you could probably have a pretty good attitude.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because what I was taught though with this business is like, you want to, at the door, I'm very like, a lot of energy, happy. You gotta my name's Bryan, right? And then I came in here. Easton was like, "Hey, like you gotta chill.
You gotta tone it down a little.
You gotta tone it down with these old people like that are buying a final expense. Like this isn't exciting. This is like, hey, this is Bryan, I'm helping you with your final expense.
Mm-hmm.
But with IULs, we're like, we're all jumping.
And what is an IUL for those that don't know?
Yeah,
like, because I think there's a lot of people out here. I mean, most people, shit, I didn't know what an IUL was until I started working here. So what is an
like
IUL?
an index universal life insurance policy. That's just like the best insurance policy. I mean, if you can get someone young that you can do you sell mortgage protection for like with IULs?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's the best product because it's lifelong, it's living benefits. The cash value is whatever. I mean, I sell it. I feel like I'm the most ethical. I sell it the most ethically. Like I tell people to use it for emergencies and opportunities, but a lot of people oversell it to where like this is an
investment. You're going to make so much money off of this, Bryan. Yeah. Like no.
You're gonna retire tax free, which you can use. You can use these things to benefit you super well in retirement, but I'm not like an expert like that to be able to do that. Like, well, I could. You have to have people that are willing to spend the money.
Yeah, and because too, like let's say you're selling it that way, and you're like, yeah, Bryan, you're going to make so much money on this, blah blah. And then I take a look at my surrender value after 2 years, I'm gonna have $0 in that if it's not structured properly.
Exactly.
So it's like, how are you selling it? It matters.
It does, but that's why I love it though, because like when I send off the illustration to them, I mean, I'm excited. They see it, they're excited. So that's why it makes my job a lot more fun. I really enjoy selling the IULs over the. Because my first like 6 months in the business was straight final expense, and it's fine. I mean, I mean, it's the same job. You just call, you close, whatever. But with the IULs, it's just more exciting because when they see it, they're like, "Oh my goodness, like this is real." I'm like, "Yes, this is real. This is sweet." You know, with final expense, it's like, "Okay, are you going to be buried or cremated?"
Like, be buried, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, that's like 15-20K. So let's get you at least like 25 with inflation. Okay, and then but I don't know. The IULs have been exciting because they're younger people usually. They have a bigger why, right? Because the final expense why, I mean, burial, cremation is important because you don't want to leave that burden, of course. Like, that's
Definitely
terrible. But with IULs, like they usually have kids, family, so like it's just bigger whys because like they have bigger problems to solve. Like
you tailor it to their situation, you know, and it's just like it's perfect. Hell yeah.
Exactly.
And touch about that a little bit. So obviously, like that's like I think right around I don't know, was it September? That's when you started having like a ton of success. And really quick, we'll touch back on kind of like what your first 6 months look like to the success part. That was primarily what you were selling, right? When you were doing like, what was your best month? It was 60 something? 60 exact on the dot?
61 or
61 and some change. Okay. So that was the only thing that you were selling at that point, right?
Yeah, just straight IULs. Everything was just the stars aligned. It was like the lead spend was perfect. It was self-booked appointments. It was everything was just crazy. It was craziness.
Dude, I remember you writing like 60, dude, and
but ego gets in the way. So like that's the biggest thing. Like you've probably seen me walk around here with a pretty big head, you know, like, and I know that. Like I know that I need to be more humble. I know that I have a lot of things to work on, and like in terms of building a successful business, you can't have ego, you know. And my biggest fault is who I am on the outside of this business. So there's just things that like I'm not the man that I'm meant to be. Like I have so much room for growth, and I feel like when you become that man and like you become humble and all those things, like everything's going to come together. I'm not that person right now. Like I'm trying to, I mean, we're all sinful people. We're all like, no one's perfect, but I know I have a lot to work on because I went from doing 60 to now I'm making big changes in my business. Now I'm going to probably be the lowest producer this month with the intent to
skyrocket.
To beat everyone's ass, hopefully. Right?
Yeah.
Totally. But the thing is that risk reward. I mean, like I could either be the lowest producer this year or the highest. Like, so I mean, yeah, it's just. But the thing is that took a big hit on me because I used to walk around here like I'm the man.
Man's willing to risk it all. I love that.
Oh yeah. But I used to walk around here like I'm the top producer. I'm the man, and then I made a switch, and then now I'm like getting hit hard with the ego. I'm like, wow, like, you know, I've got humbled pretty quick. So like that's my biggest fault is getting too big of a head. So that's kind of like what I'm trying to work on this year is like, you know, don't be such a dick. Just be like, you know, because I don't know. That's just in sales, it gets very like especially there's 40, 50 of us.
There's like 40 videos. A
lot of testosterone running around here.
A lot of tests, and then also like too. I mean, it's just competition, right? I mean, like that's definitely a big part of the business. Like when I see you hit 60,000, I'm like, all right. Well, at the point when you hit 60, I think my best month was like 26, 27. I'm like, I don't think he's twice the salesperson to me. Like I'm gonna figure this shit out, and obviously now I'm starting selling even more and all this. So like it definitely. like you feed off of those energies, but it can be a dangerous thing when you get ego involved.
Oh yeah,
I think when
it
ego
ruined
comes,
me, honestly,
yeah.
it got me because like I feel like I'm not as liked in the office anymore because I was just an asshole. I walked around.
People like you, Brian. Don't
I
sweat
know,
it.
I know, but I just feel
like
like I know, but I feel like I'm not as liked because I was such a just. I walked around with like a dick because I was like I know I was not the person that I want to be.
hold up, but real quick, how old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay, 26. Okay, so you're 26. Like, I think that's a pretty normal thing. Like, if you give a 26-year-old and you start making, 30, 40 grand, 50, 60 grand a month, like you're gonna feel yourself a little bit, whether you like to or not. Like, I mean, obviously, I know you're a God-fearing man, but like that is kind of like it's not a bad thing. The cool thing though is that you see that and you're like, all right, hold up, can't do that again. Let's how do we get better from this?
For sure, but I feel like it's gonna. I've also seen other guys in this bit. Well, the thing about money is I've been finding. I went to dinner last night with my buddy from college, and he was telling me that his girlfriend's dad, right? Like this guy's worth $37 million and miserable, horrible life, and I'm just like terrified. I'm like, wow, like money does not matter. Like it really doesn't. It's the person you become. So like if money can add on to who you are as a person in a good or bad way. So I don't know like money is cool and everything, and I want to be extremely wealthy and extremely well off, but at the same time, it's really about like who I become throughout the process. So that's kind of what I'm focused on right now, which I'm struggling really hard with. Like things that like I've been really disciplined, like you've never even seen anything like it. And then now because I've hurt my shoulder, I can't lift. Like I'm like struggling outside of work now. Like I'm not as disciplined at work. I'm disciplined, but like it really comes from outside of work of who you are at work. So that's the thing. That's why I need to figure out how to get back to my old self without the gym now, which which is horrible. It's been a huge because like I'm usually I'm a big strong guy, and now I'm like losing weight and like I can't do anything about it. Gonna have to get surgery, whatever. So
maybe that's something from above, right? Like they sprinkle the little humble salt on on Bryan.
And that's the thing. Like when I used to like just like what's the word? I like flexing in the mirror, just like over.
Yeah, I know. You're checking yourself out, maybe like you're.
Well, it's just like I'm idolizing like that. Like I'm like over. I have too much love about my body and like.
It's called. Golly.
I know it's so crazy. I can't think about that.
Yeah, goodness, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Just like idolizing.
I know what you mean.
Just
very prideful, very prideful, very
just over like it's just ego and but at the end of the day like none of that mattered. Like being ripped and everything is cool, but I took it too far. I think took it to like I was just like I got really chiseled, big. I was like 210 pounds, like nice. but I feel like I was idolizing it too much. Like I was like throwing God out the window. Like I'm God, like that's kind of where
that's
I feel
scary.
Like that's kind of where, and I feel like that's where that little bit of humble, like what you just talked about,
some of the humble sauce.
Humble sauce. Like now I can't lift, I'm losing weight, and now I'm like, okay, well, like that's why I'm so focused on God right now and trying to become like the best man I can be. So when I'm healed and can get back to being strong again and everything, like I'll be a different mindset.
You'll be a light, not an asshole. I know what you mean. And there's going to be a big difference with that because people could give hands up and they could give hands down depending on where they're at in life. I never respected the people who were super like rich or well off and just assholes because I've definitely met. I think everybody's probably met like a rich asshole, and then they categorize everybody as that. Oh, like if you're rich and you have a lot of money, like you're a shitty person. Like no, that's not true. Because honestly, the best people I've met are the people who are super well off financially, but also like willing to like lend a hand up and not a hand down. So I think that's really important, dude. I think, I respect that. Like especially like you see that now that you're like, all right, so when you hit your next, because dude, I know how you are. You're going to get to those 50, 60, 70, 80,000, $100,000 months. And when you get that, I'm excited to kind of see like, all right, Bryan, you're here now again.
Yeah.
Is it going to change? Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing for me because, like you said, like being like our age, and then I just know it's going to come back, so I just got to be checked. Like I feel like because I know for a fact, I know when I'm on the leaderboard, number one, I know for a fact it's probably going to come back. So I got to figure out how to check myself. Yeah. Because it just feels so good. Like
it's scary, dude. I mean, dude, and that's where
you just look at everyone like
Yeah, you gotta. Fuck
yeah,
can't what you mean.
Yeah.
But you just, I mean, dude, I think you touched on it, bro. I mean, the key, I think, is like sticking close to God. I mean, this is not like some like throwing a Bible at anybody, but Dude, I think in my life that the times I've gotten away from the word, always the toughest times. I mean, that's why when I went through divorce and all this shit, it's because, dude, I wasn't going to church. I wasn't praying, dude. I mean, that was when my life was at its worst. When I thought it was at its best. Like, you know, you look on the outside like, oh, like nice cars, house, this, all this shit, like perfect marriage, right? All the bullshit. But it wasn't true because I went away from God. So I don't know. You know,
it is so
I'd recommend
important.
picking up a Bible.
Yeah. Well, no, it
Yeah,
just helps
it
so
would.
much, like having faith, because my faith, I'm basically like, when I pray, I pray over my business that, like, because I'm very generous. Like, I want to help other people so much, you know, like I really want to help like the guys on my team. I really want to do everything I can. And I feel like by praying over my business, just not just for my success, but just the overall success of the business and everybody, like I want everyone to grow, and I want to be able to grow this business so big that, like, not even about the money. It's just like, I want to just have a purpose driven business. Like, you know, I want to have everyone in my business locked in where we're all like-minded. We all want to do the things for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons. Right.
And I think that's the cool thing. Like with this, like, right, we were alluding to earlier, like you can make this whatever you want. Like if you have a business, because like my big goal ever since I was like a young kid was like, okay, like how can I get complete control of time and money? And then like when I started getting around successful entrepreneurs at the age of like 20, 22, 23, I was like, wow, okay, so like I realized like the most well-off people are like super successful people, or the people that are lending a hand up. So if you could be that for someone else too, of like, you know, let's take the ego out. Like, all right, you have a new guy, whatever. It's like, hey, dude, like if you show that kid how to make, you know, 6 figures, which you could totally do, you're going to elevate that kid's life, change his life. But at the same time, you're also doing a good service, right? When we're selling right, providing, you know, correct services to our clients. Like, dude, it's like a win-win for everybody.
But you got to be careful, though, because I feel like my generosity has put a big dent in my success. Because I've given up way too much money, way too much. Like, I've done a lot. I'll buy into people very heavily, like way over investing. And it just comes back to bite me. And like, I tell my mom about like my business all the time, and she's always just like, dude, like you got to chill. Like you can't be, just for example, like, you know, I've paid over $25,000-$30,000 in chargebacks for people this year.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
like,
So really quick, I want to touch on that, because I think some people don't know what that is. And obviously here, like with our podcast, like we're always gonna be 100% real and just very upfront with everything. So a chargeback. So, okay, let's say you were on my team, whatever, and you sold 20, 30,000. Let's just say you sold 10,000. Let's say you sold bad business because I wasn't being a good teacher. I wasn't helping you. I wasn't showing you how to downsell. I wasn't showing you how to actually service a client. Maybe you're selling these policies bad. If you quit and all the clients, they cancel those policies, the insurance company will say, hey, well, we paid out $10,000 to Bryan. Oh, Bryan is like MIA, missing in action. He's no longer part of this. So then that $10,000 that is owed by Bryan will end up owing to myself. So that's what you mean when you paid out 20, 30,000.
Yeah, so then it rolls up to me, and then, you know, Easton's like, yo, go after, you know, go out, get like they got paid that money, you know, because Easton's very to the book about the business, which I guess at his level you have to be, because if you're too generous, then you're going to end up eating way too much. So Easton sets the standard of, you know, everyone is responsible.
Totally.
But for me,
so do you think that was just you maybe like not having the correct standards with people in the beginning?
For sure, standards in the beginning, because I didn't even know at the beginning.
Right, you just don't know.
Two, just I'm not a debt collector, so like I feel like because I didn't set the standards up front, I just feel like, because it's not like they have the money anyways. It's like you know that they're trying to make their way in life too, and you know they have their own problems, their own responsibilities. So when you come into this business, I just need to set proper expectations. But by being too generous though, like I don't have to pay all of it, you know, and I still have it coming. Like I can foresee like other stuff coming, and that's why. But but again, it's all just like the cost of running a business and learning from the mistakes. So
I mean, if you own a grocery store, listen, people are going to steal from the grocery store. There's going to, like, I think people need to realize like that's very like a normal thing in business. When I ran Verizon stores, there was theft, there was, you know, phones that were stolen, things that happened on the daily. It's any business. It's just going to happen. Okay, you own a construction company. Okay, well, how much stuff was maybe thrown away or broken? That's a chargeback, just so you know. Same stuff. Because I think sometimes people hear that and they're like, oh my gosh, like that's so scary. But two, like one thing that I've realized is definitely, because dude, I mean, obviously like right now we're hiring a lot of people in the agency. There's been a little bit of debt but it has nothing that has rolled back. Because two, I think on the front end, I've been so upfront because from you.
Is it from me?
Well, no, I'm sorry. Like from you, like I think like you kind of showed me that. And then also Ty was super open about that. So I was like, okay, all right, Bryan, you're on my team. Cool. I'm paying you out. All right, just so you know, this is exactly how life insurance works. All right, this makes sense. Does the chargeback make sense? Okay, so Brian, when if for some reason your client charges back, don't make it weird. This is just the cost of business, right? Either what we're going to do is, Brian, you're going to sell a policy and that's going to pay this back. Okay, we'll just write business under my portal and that goes away. That way, I'm not screwing you over. I'm not getting screwed over as well. Does that make sense? And then they agree. Cool. W-9, everything else, boom, done.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think the reason for that, though, is because from what I saw from yourself or other people, where I'm like, okay, how can I prevent that? Like, what am I doing in my business that way I don't run into those issues?
I remember talking to you about it.
Yeah.
I told you everything, and then I remember you set the expectations so quick. But my biggest problem was hiring friends, because when you hire friends, you have to keep business and friendship separate.
Right.
And my problem is being friends outside and inside of work. So then I don't have the courage to like be the boss man and like tell
hey
them,
man, sorry, dude, Brian, listen, bro, 2 G's.
Well, not even
Yeah, I know what you
chargebacks,
mean.
not just chargebacks, business as well.
Yeah.
Like, hey, like they're complaining. Well, dude, you're not doing enough. You know, Dude, like it's hard for me to be a leader for them. So that's been my biggest fault, because I also like really shy away from confrontation. Like I for some reason, like I'm just a huge bitch when it comes to like confrontation. Because
At least you're honest about it.
I'm a people pleaser, and I really don't want to like make people feel bad, and like I'll make people feel bad if they deserve it. Like if anything, if they try to come at me at all to hurt me. But if everyone's innocent towards me, like I really hate hurting people's feelings, and like which is a problem though, because like life is life. Like you're like people's feelings are gonna get hurt. Like you have to be honest, and that's been my biggest fault, is just being too nice to people. Which I guess I can still be nice. I really do need to start stepping up.
I think it's just the expectations, right? Of just like being, like I don't think there's anything, and I would say like not to like pat myself on the back or whatever, but I think that is like something that maybe I've always been kind of used to since coming from like district management, all this stuff for like a long time. Like when I had a conversation with a guy, I was never like, Brian, you're fucking terrible, you suck. Like that's a terrible leader, I think. But on the flip side, let's say we were talking about, since we're on the topic of chargebacks, all right, Brian, this is exactly how everything works. Does all this make sense? Okay, got it. So obviously we want to prevent this from happening. That way you're not affected, correct? Yes. Okay, got it. So would it be fair if I have, different systems in place, that way if something happens in the future, then this is not going to affect you and your business and also not affect my business? They're going to say, oh yeah, of course. Okay, got it. So listen, if there's something that happens in the future, you and I will chat about it. We're not going to make it weird, blah, blah.
It's just the proper expectations all the way from the very beginning. But it's really just not, it's really, I'm talking about like complaining. I can't stand complaining. Like,
just don't hire those people.
I mean, no, I know.
I know what you mean.
But like when I hear people complain, like I just get super upset about it and mad, but then I don't do anything about it. So like from now on, if I need to start just being like, hey, I just got to start having those harder conversations.
You ever read The Energy Bus?
No. I've never.
It talks about like complaining. It's like when people complain, it's like, hey, dude, like you want to cut it out right there. Like, hey, dude, okay, what are you complaining about? It's like, oh, leads suck. Okay. Or, man, no one's picking up. Cool. Just so you know, like, I don't know. It's just everything's perspective.
I complain too. It's not like I don't complain. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but like, I'm just in a point where I'm in patience mode. So like, of course I'm going to go talk and like, be like, say this and that. But like at the end of the day, like I'm not complaining that I don't know. The complaining is different, because I feel like I've never complained about leads. Like sure, there is quality of leads, and I have, complained about it, but not the stuff that
never where you're in like a bad person to where I'm like, fuck, like Brian, like stop. It's affecting me.
Some of the people I've had to work with, like that, man, it's just driven me crazy. So because it's a hard business, so you have to just understand that from the start. And,
right, which I think is touching on the point, right? I think it's like it's a really hard business. It's not for everybody. Like yes, there's high upside, high reward, high risk, all the name you name it, it's about it. But being like having those upfront expectations, dude, I think will just change everything for you. I don't know. I'm excited to see kind of how you implement that.
For sure.
Now, really quickly, because I know you got an appointment here soon, I do want to touch on like your first 6 months in the business, because I think in the beginning, like were you like heavy hitting, like running right off the gate? Like what did that look like?
So I actually onboarded with the team in Texas, because
I had no clue. Okay.
I saw this opportunity on Instagram. So it was just like these random dudes. I don't even know who they were, but I'm that kind of, like I said, I jump on things really fast. So I saw I saw them on Instagram closing remotely, and I was like, okay, well that's cool, because I also always told myself I will never sit on the phone and close.
Yeah, I never thought that would be me either. Yeah,
I'm like, no way, I will never do that in my life. But then after a hard day of knocking, like I'm like, okay, well, these guys are posting these deals for like $3,000, whatever. And I'm like, so I messaged them. I onboarded fully with them.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I onboarded and I packed my bags. Just again, just like the whole California thing.
The whole California thing.
Packed my bags, and I paid for an Airbnb in Texas, and then I went to Texas Roadhouse with my mom, and she was sitting there. She's like, okay, so like, who is this company? Who are you? I was like, I don't know. I have no idea. Like, I'm on board and I'm going. I don't care what anyone says, because there's so much negativity. Like, you can find negative about anything.
About anything, dude.
So I'm just like, whatever. Like,
do your research, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, do your research, and like, but the thing is, family first life. Like, you can find a million negative things, but there's so many people successful here. Because if you're not successful here, you're gonna go write a bad review, whatever.
Right, exactly.
But my mom was like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, do you know who you're? I'm like, no, I don't. She's like, okay, well, let's do some research real quick. So she like looks up on like Family First Life, clicks like the state of Colorado and see Easton's name. She's like, did you talk to this guy? And I was like, no, I didn't even. So messaged him on Instagram, Easton. He messaged me back 2 seconds later. Jumped on a phone call. I walked outside of Texas Roadhouse. He's like, yep, come in the office in the morning. So I lost all my money on that.
And real quick, before you lost money on the Airbnb, which was, it's a good thing you lost that. So for those that don't know, who is Easton?
Easton Patton's just like the biggest dog in
dude's
our office.
Dude's an animal, bro. So he best year in sales, 940,000 as a personal producer while also running an agency.
But
That's insane.
The thing about Easton is he just puts his head down and he works like harder than anybody, really.
Yeah,
I
dude.
mean, it's really hard to like. He's like that guy I met in California, the Alex guy. Like they just know how to work.
Yeah.
Like full 12-hour days. Like they know how to put and like that's something I still struggle with. Like I'll be at the office for 12 hours, but am I actually working those 12 hours? Like not necessarily. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Right. But yeah, like Easton, he's a great leader. So when I first came into I basically showed up to the office the next day. So I had to move my contracts from the Texas team to the Denver team, and that was a nightmare. It took forever. So my first month was just like, it was January of 24. I sold like 6,000, and that was on my own name. I put some through Easton, so I probably sold like maybe close to 10 or something.
Okay.
And then the second month I did 16, and then the third month I did 30.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you had overall like a pretty quick, come up more or less.
Well, yeah, because I was with Jesse and Ty, so there's the three of us. Those were the good old days, honestly.
Yeah, just y'all three cranking. Yeah,
it was three of us in this big office. It was crazy. But I loved it, honestly. Like those were my favorite times of the business, because Ty was trying to generate his leads. Jesse was just getting destroyed.
I know,
and then
dude, he's getting fucked up.
Yeah, and then I was just like trying to figure out, what am I doing? Because like Jesse and Ty scared me a little bit. They're like, oh, well, most people get their first deal on the first day, and I was like, oh shit, I'm like 3 days in and I haven't got a deal yet.
Yeah,
So and then basically. Probably the competition. I was like, okay, I gotta start whooping on these guys. Got to start closing some deals, and then basically we it was just like we were like a snowball, like going down, and then we all started picking up pretty good. So that's why like March, April, May, we started picking it up.
Yeah,
and then what happened was I got comfortable again, just like kind of in solar, make the money, and then you slow down, did it again. So there was 2 months where I just like felt sorry for myself. I just was like. I just wasn't working very hard. I did 22,000 for 2 months in a row, which I went off like a $40,000 month, and then to 20, which is like for 2 months in a row. Dang. That's why I was like, okay, I'm not gonna hit Hall of Fame. And then those 2 months were when Jesse did his best months.
Okay.
Because I would have I don't even know what I would have been at this year if I had gone all the way through.
Dang.
I know, because I would have probably hit 500 or something.
Yeah. And that's the part of like being consistent and. Yep. It's like, okay, using that knowledge of like, okay, damn, I could have probably done 5, maybe even 6. Momentum, you got to build off of that. So now in this year, obviously, I assume like your goal, like what are your goals for this year?
I mean, it's so hard to like even say, honestly. I mean, so my goal is to have the system and processes like, because I like how Ty has his business, and I really want to like create the same kind of business. So where I have like a process where like I can bring agents in on my leads, on my likeness on social media from just the ads I'm running, and be able to just plug people in. And I'm trying to build an agency, and I'm watching Ty and Jesse do it really fast, because Ty already has his on lock, and then Jesse's has the same thing as Ty, so they're like full momentum right now.
Right.
Like so
and for those that don't like kind of know, like we have like a pretty big office. Typically it's like 40, 50 people here every single day. Moving from a tiny little office when there was just 3 of you last year now to this, it's pretty sweet. Yeah.
Big time. But they have their things rocking, and then like I am like basically starting over. So like, where they're having this big momentum push, I'm like, kind of in the slumps right now. But it's gonna March, April, May. It's gonna be interesting to see
Yeah.
because like I'm obviously trying to go after them and try to because like right now they're gonna be beating me this month, next month. But if I can get things rolling the way I want to, then I can bring people in. Because the thing is, I want to build a different kind of business. Like you guys are really good at just getting a lot of people in here, and like which is great because that's the whole business. Like you want to build a big agency. I want to be more selective. I want to have a smaller team that does a really massive amount of volume.
You want like a SEAL team, like SEAL team
like,
6.
I want like 10 people that do 50K.
Yeah.
Which is really hard. It's like, it's most people would probably say that's dumb. Like like especially in this business, like Jay Masca has a team of X amount of people.
Over 250, yeah.
Yeah, and they all do 20. They'll have the guys that do 20, 30. They have the big producers. Some of the guys that are just do 10. Like they have. But for me, for some reason, I don't know why I want to do it that way. I think it's just because it goes back to like being like I feel bad for people failing. So like I want to try to bring people into like something that their highest rate of success, and like that's why I'm trying to go that way.
Yeah.
But that's also a riskier way, harder way. I mean,
yeah. Well,
it's just like,
I will say, dude, like one thing, because even before this business, right, I started building like a lot of like sales teams, business teams, and whatnot like that. Like one thing, dude, the killers come through the volume.
For sure.
So that is one thing that like if you put like a lot onto one guy, you're like, all right, dude, I'm gonna make you be a $50,000 producer.
Yeah.
But what if he doesn't have that dog in him, right? What if he just wants?
I've already seen it. Oh yeah,
exactly.
No, I know.
So that's where that's like the thing where that's the only thing I would say
for sure.
that,
And well, the thing is, but I just don't have like the systems to bring in people in right now to like. I don't know. I feel like you're right because I feel like I'm just trying to get everything situated to where I can bring people in and give them the highest chance at least.
Yeah, give them the best chance of succeeding.
Well, it's because when I did that $60,000 a month, I did it pretty easy, honestly.
Dude, I remember you were taking naps in the middle of the day, which I remember.
I don't do that anymore. Yeah, I don't do it.
Well, it's because you don't have a couch in your office.
I know.
Back then, he used to have a couch in his office. Anyways.
Yeah, but I would take an hour nap every single day. But I was also waking up at 3:45 in the morning. So
dude.
I was running pretty hard.
Listen, bro. You were cranking. I'm not trying.
That is so funny though. But because I saw that production and with the work I was putting in, I was like, okay, so I can do. My whole goal is to duplicate that with building a team. So that's kind of where I'm doing right now is trying to duplicate that with getting everything in place. Which what I'm trying to get into place takes so much time.
The system's the hardest part, man, because the system will either make or break your business.
For sure.
So, I mean, that goes, why is McDonald's so successful? Because they have a system in place.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Once it's locked in, though, it'll be good. And I think I'm going to be able to bring in people. And, like, I think I'm going to have a very successful business in the long run because of, like, what I want to do. I think it's all going to work out. I have a very, clear vision of where I'm going, which is exciting, I went to, actually at Young Adults, at church, they were talking about the series is called 9 to 5, and they're basically talking about how God worked the first 6 days, like He was creating the world, everything. He was working.
He worked.
So your biggest show of faith is through your work. So it's cool because they're talking about 9 to 5 employees, people that are just people that probably hate their jobs, hate.
Right.
Trying to give them some purpose and excitement, why they should want to work. But for me, I'm like, wow, I'm coming up with this business idea. I'm coming up with things out of my head and creating it into the world
and making them tangible.
Yeah, because he was basically saying, be an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
that's what he was saying up there, and I was like, wow, I'm doing it. I'm doing this thing. So it's pretty exciting. There's a lot of excitement. It's a lot of fear. I'm scared as shit. I'm scared,
dude. But same. It's
because it's just. But the thing is, if you're not, then you're just super comfortable where you're at.
Right.
So I always
can't be comfortable.
Well, I see all my friends that are they're so comfortable. They make enough money to pay their rent. Everything's great. But they're not gonna ever see what I will hopefully see in my life. You know? I want to see by the time I'm 30, 40, I want to be able to be there for my family, kids, whatever. I want to be able to just have so much time for that. Because if you don't put the time in now, you're gonna be putting in the time in then, which is fine. I mean, people
some people are cool with
people
that.
Love that.
Yeah, but for me personally, dude, no. I always saw the biggest risk is the risk not taking, right? So meaning if we're not grinding our asses off now in our 20s, we'll still pay for that in our 40s, 50s, 60s. I'm not willing to do that.
For sure.
I want to put it all on the table now. That way, my future children, your future wife, all that stuff, we're set. not only my family, but then also like the family of many others. Because like let's say like like if you were to lock in and be that guy for let's say the next person who needs a Bryan Boatman to be that leader and that individual, you could change that person's lives, and it just spreads, man.
Oh,
So I think it's a beautiful thing.
Well, because when you get the team, like what I'm trying to create, then because what I heard Andy Frisella talk about is how he has a business where he brings people in and gives them the American dream. He gives them the house, they're able to pay for their cars. They're able to, yeah, they're not going to be probably making $1 million a year, but with his company, if you work hard enough for long enough, you will. But like he just talks about bringing people into a business that can create that, and that's what I want to create with my business.
Oh yeah.
So like that's like my biggest goal is to be able to bring people in and be able to help them, live a really happy, successful life. And but it's really hard to do though with this business. So it's really hard to, because my goal is to create like because you see my Instagram, right?
Totally, yeah.
So like obviously it's nothing right now. Like I mean I actually I'm liking it so far. I'm liking the way everything's
cool.
going.
I think it looks good, yeah.
But I mean over the long run though, like I want inbound. I want to be like an State Farm. Like I want to have like a brand where people are coming, like Eric Bosworth, exactly. Like elevated insurance, like people see it, they know it. So that's kind of what I want to build over the long run. I don't have the kind of capital he had to start. I don't know how he did that so fast. But
I think it's because he had a health business, and
yeah, he had a lot of help too. He had a lot of like mentors, I'm sure, a lot of people in place where with what I'm trying to do is just going to take a lot longer, but at least I see the vision and I see like everything. So as long as I can just never quit, like, that's the biggest thing is like I've had problems with, I did solar, and then I got my mortgage license like during like it was a really hard time, and like I feel like mortgages are just super hard to sell. Like to become really successful in mortgages, it's just like this business. It's like
you could ask my buddy. It's literally identical.
It's hard. Like, everything's hard. So like that, but I really didn't know what I was doing there. But like the solar, I knew what I was doing. So I think it's like now I found this. Now I just need to stick to it because I'm 26 now. Like I need to stick to it for the long run because if I move and try to start over something else again, it's
you're going to be in that cycle, dude.
Yeah.
You're going to be in that fucking cycle.
I'm glad I've done what I've done, though, because everyone always looked at me like, you're the guy that jumps thing to thing. But it's like, okay, well, at least I know I don't want to sell mortgages. I know I don't want to knock on doors. What do you, like, you've been at the same desk job since you were 18 and have, like, barely had any, growth.
And everybody has different goals. And I think that's, too, is, like, you take that experience, you take the failures, right, and you make the best of it. So even like myself, like, dude, I was always in a place where like 7 years, dude, I was in a corporate job. I will always be like building businesses, but never got enough traction. And now it's like, opportunity meets preparation. And it's like, boom, okay, now it's like we're starting to take off.
Now we're starting to see it.
Like now, like even like
I was got the vision.
Yeah, I got the vision.
And you got the experience. And like where you have more than me is like you have more experience with leadership. Like I've been a good leader with lifestyle, being able to like, wake up early. I've been a pretty good leader with that kind of aspect, but not in terms of like sitting down man to man with someone and say, hey, like you are not doing what you need to be doing. So like that's something that you have over me, which I need to learn. But I mean, everyone here we all have like different skill sets.
We all have different skill sets, man. We just got to obviously continue to build on those skill sets. And then obviously it's like, if you duplicate that down to the next person, dude, it's going to pay dividends down the road. But anyways, Bryan, dude, I know you got an appointment, dude. Anyways, quick guys. Any questions for Bryan? Go ahead and do all the things. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that stuff. But if you have any questions, go ahead and comment them down below for Bryan, and we'll get him back on here. Any last minute thing that you want to tell the audience before we?
I'll just say, do anything you can to find what you love. Honestly, because I found this and I love it, and I'm just like extremely grateful for it. So try things, do something. Do something.
Fucking risk it.
Yeah, risk it. Like I feel like that's my biggest thing. Like risk it, because if you don't, then you're because I feel like the biggest thing I learned at that church service is people don't have purpose. People don't want to work. People don't want to work. Yeah. People want to like stay at home. Like I'm a lazy ass too. Trust me. I want to, but when I am super lazy, so you have no purpose, you have no drive, it's just a downhill. That's
where the devil creeps in. Exactly. So idle time's the devil's playground, man.
Exactly. So just find something you love, work really hard, and chase the dream. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Appreciate you, Bryan. All right, y'all. Peace. Take care.
Nice. Very good. That's a good one.